Hello and welcome to the Edupreneur show. Your hosts today are Aruna and Gautam, founders of HowToCBC.com, where they help experts, teachers, creators, and businesses make highly engaging cohort based courses. Education, particularly online education, is undergoing a tectonic shift. The time is ripe for fresh ideas and disruption. In this show, we speak to the folks at the forefront of this change. We speak to the pioneers who are experimenting, learning, failing, and succeeding. They share their lessons as they navigate these uncharted territories and break new ground.
Today we have with us Rodolfo Sagahon, a veteran in corporate social innovation, corporate social responsibility, and social entrepreneurship. After an extensive career in the private sector and in the United Nations, Rodolfo recently pivoted to academia. He is currently a professor at the Department of Economic Administrative Sciences at Universidad Iberoamericana León in Mexico. More recently, he has ventured into the online education space. Gautam and I first met Rodolfo via the course we offered at HowToCBC titled Design Your First Cohort Based Course. Rodolfo is a firm believer that cohort based courses are the future of education. Having started exploring online education back in 2010, right in its early days with MOOCs and video calls. In this chat, Rodolfo freely shares with us learnings from his journey of creating and running his own cohort-based course in the past year. He takes us through the challenges in promoting his CBCs. To overcome these challenges, Rodolfo is prioritizing building his own brand, establishing credibility, and nurturing a community that shares his vision. He also talks about how he is seeking out suitable partners to support him on his journey. Let's hear it from him now. So, Rodolfo, over to you. Would you like to add anything to this introduction? And also, how did you find your path to education?
Well, first of all, it's an honor, and I'm very happy to share this space with you guys. And I wouldn't add anything, and that's my story in a nutshell. Currently, I'm trying to build a career around the academy, but also to start building a career on cohort-based courses. That it's something that I believe that will build on the future of education.
That's so interesting. And could you elaborate a little bit on how you found your path to education or to becoming a professor?
How I decided to become a professor? Okay, I think it's always been there. I started teaching in a certain way since my first job as a CSR manager in Grupo Xcaret, which is it's a natural theme park in the Mayan Riviera in Mexico, and since then I had to organize and provide a lot of workshops around sustainability, business sustainability. These workshops were internal, were for my colleagues, but I did a lot of them. And since then, I realized that it was the teaching. It was something that I really enjoyed, and that was like my first, the first thing that I did, to realize it. But then, and in another job that I had later at the UN as the director of the UN Global Compact, there we were much more serious about providing workshops, and also I was invited to different universities and also business schools as a visiting professor. So there I started to learn about how to design a class, how to talk to savvy groups, if I can say it, and how to manage how to manage groups, and their expectations and their focus and everything. So it's been, I would say, like a process in which I've been every time learning more, but also falling in love more with teaching. And that's why I decided now to practically pivot my career and to become a professor, and also to start like foreseeing my future as an academic, also doing some research as well.
Awesome. Good to hear that, Rodolfo. So I actually wanted to ask something that you mentioned, where you said you were going to focus on cohort-based courses and you want to ride that path. But since that's completely online, I wanted to understand, what was your first online teaching experience? Like, where did you pick that up? How did you get into that?
Well, you know, since I was at the UN, when it was like 2010, between 2010 and 2015. This was an office that was in Mexico City, but we served for the whole country, different members, mainly business members from the whole country. So some of the first challenge that we had while organizing workshops is that we couldn't be everywhere. So that was the moment when Zoom started. And there was another platform. I don't remember. It was like GoToWebinar. Yeah, it was GoToWebinar.
Yeah.
Like these pioneer platforms on webinars. We started using them because we wanted to have more reach. So that was like my first experience teaching online. It was very different from what we have now. I think now we have much more different tools, and we also have much more a bigger market, if I would say. But yes, it was around 2010 that I started. And then when I started teaching at the Universidad Iberoamericana, it was right after the pandemic. So we had to teach in hybrid classes. Some of my classes were online, actually. So there I took again the whole experience, and since then, I mean, we've been teaching online classes since then. It was something that stayed as an offer in the university. But also it was around that time that I started designing my first cohort-based course.
That is so cool. And you sort of almost anticipate my next question, which is that I want to know that you teach both in a university environment, which is somewhat structured. And as you mentioned, it's hybrid, so you teach in person as well as online. And then you have this entire new thing, which is an online cohort-based course. So what, in your view, are the synergies between these two? And also what, is challenging in an online cohort-based course, which is perhaps easier in-person university teaching?
Well, I would say that the synergies are mainly like the design of the classes and the courses. No, that's something that for both kind of courses, you do it in the same way. And the challenges of teaching an online course, I would say, there's a lot of challenges, but for me, the main challenge is to keep the students engaged and focused all the time in the class. Fortunately, there are a lot of tools, great online tools to achieve that, but I think that's one of the main challenges.
So do you see yourself taking maybe some things from the hybrid course and then putting it into your CBC, or?
Like to turn my CBC into something like more hybrid, you mean?
That too. Or I was going more along the lines of, is there anything you take from the hybrid course that you teach at
Yeah.
university and say that I can improve my CBC because
Well, I think hybrid courses and like regular traditional classes are great because they give you a proximity with students, and it's very important. I think it's very important to read the students. What are their expressions when you're talking about something? The tone of their voices, actually, if they're checking out something on the cell phone, or they're really engaged in the class. And I think it's a little bit harder to do that in an online course, but it is achievable. No? For example, to ask your students to have all the time their cameras on. That's one thing, especially with grad students. It's very important to have their cameras on all the time, because otherwise you wouldn't know if they are still there.
That's right.
So that's one thing, and to bring that kind of experience to an online course is great, because since the beginning you design it thinking about how am I gonna engage with the person, not the student, but the person.
And how do you enforce, just out of curiosity, that they keep the cameras on? Is it your powers of persuasion, or do you have some other tricks up your sleeve?
I think it's both. I mean, there are rules. I mean, when you teach at a university, there are certain rules that they have to follow. One of them for me is you have to turn on the camera all the time. But there are also some other hacks. For example, driving group conversations would be one. So they have to open their cameras, as well, or just keep on asking people. Make this, how do we call it? Like these cold calls, so they can stay engaged all the time. And for example, if they're answering a question, they are fully engaged. But if they know that they could be asked the question, they could get asked the question, they are also engaged.
Understood. Great points, Rodolfo. I wanted to actually tilt the conversation a little. You mentioned the challenges in the classroom and the teaching atmosphere. But when you decided to go take your business online or make online teaching into a business which you drive, what were the primary challenges that you faced then? Challenges of a different nature.
Okay, that's a great question, because since when I started designing my cohort-based course, or when I decided to start making cohort-based courses, I thought it was going to be pretty easy since I already teach classes. What I was considering, or what I thought at that moment, is that it would be practically the same. I would design a class, and then I would have students. The students will show up out of the blue, and then I will just teach, But what happens with a cohort-based course, that you have to own the whole array of processes that you have. And it's not just designing the course. It's not just designing the course, but it's also to design for example, the marketing strategy, or to design, or to know where will that online course would live, like the platform. So there's a lot of things that I didn't know that I had to consider at the first time, that became challenges, of course.
Understood.
And for the whole array of challenges that I think you have organizing a cohort-based course, I think the hardest for me has been, how am I gonna market my courses how am I gonna get the students? Because as I said, if you are a teacher in a university, you just teach. You show up to the classroom and the students are there. But if you organize a cohort-based course, how are you gonna do to get those students?
Okay, so please illuminate us. What have you been doing to solve this obviously very important problem?
I still haven't found the silver lining, I would say, but what I'm trying to do now is to start building my personal brand as an expert.
Mm-hmm.
I decided first that I'm going to teach. I'm just going to teach topics related to corporate social innovation. Maybe later something about CSR. Maybe later something about social entrepreneurship. But first, my focus will be on corporate social innovation. So there, I kind of have I kind of know where my market is. No?
Mm-hmm.
I am designing these courses for people who work inside a corporation and would like to transform the corporation from within. So that was the first thing that I decided. Then, how am I gonna get these people to join my courses? Okay, so my approach is to start building my own name as a brand, as an expert. How do you do this? With content marketing. That's what I'm doing. For those that don't know what's content marketing, is to start giving for free a lot of valuable content so that you can build a brand of yourself as an expert, but also to build a community that after a while will be growing. And anytime that you need to promote something, for example, a cohort-based course, you will have people that will get that information.
That's
Understood.
fantastic. And do you have channels? Have you decided on what channels you're trying to build your brand?
Actually, I took a cohort-based course on on content marketing, and what I learned, one of the key learnings is that when you want to start, you have to start just with one channel, focus just on one channel. And for me and for the audience that I want to reach, the best audience is LinkedIn. So I've been working on providing valuable information, posting valuable information through LinkedIn since, I don't know, since November or maybe before, like 6 months. I've been working on that.
Understood. Rodolfo, I actually want to ask, now that you have all this experience and information, etc., if you were to sort of do it again, or if you want to keep doing this in the future, what are things that you would really plan for besides building a personal brand, and what else would you be up to so that you can actually reach out better to your audience, or generate more course revenue or fill more seats per se?
I don't know. I mean, if I were to talk to the Rodolfo of the past, I would recommend him to start building his brand, but right away. Don't wait to have the course to start building your brand and to have social media presence. That would be one. And the other thing that's being very important for me is to have partners on the way. I just talk about the platforms where that you can use to provide the courses, but there are some platforms that that are not just the platform, that are also people that can support you on building your course, no? And in that regard, I was very, very fortunate to find in my path these guys from Edison, I know you know them, because actually they reach out to me because of you. And my friends from Edison, this is for those that don't know, this is an Argentinian company that is focused on building cohort-based courses in Latin America, in Spanish. So for me, they are like the best partners that I could ever have, no? Because they provided me with a platform, which is something very valuable, of course, but they also provide me with advice and with support on organizing and delivering cohort-based courses. So I would say those are the main things that I would recommend to start. No, don't think that if you already have experience teaching, that would be the only thing that you have to do. Think about how are you gonna reach your audience, and think about who are you going to partner with to deliver a perfect cohort-based course.
Understood. That makes a lot of sense. But I actually want to double click on that partnering that you mentioned, right? So how did you, besides Edison, how did you leverage more partners to reach out to more audience or grow your course per se? Like, I want to hear about that.
Well, for example, for my last course, they were like, how can I explain this? Yeah, we couldn't get a lot of students to join the course, and it was about we were going to start like 2 weeks after that, and we had like 2 students or 3, something like that. So I reached a friend of mine he's the CEO of a company called Xbox, which is a media company that has the biggest newsletter for CSR in Latin America. And I asked him for help. I told him, like, I'm having trouble reaching my audience. Please help me with your newsletter. So he sent he sent a newsletter with my online course, like promoting my online course. And like this, I started to have a lot of leads. But without his help, I just wouldn't do it. That was for sure.
Understood.
So that I as I told you, I got lucky that I was able to do that. But for my next courses, I'm doing what I just said. No, I'm building my brand. I'm doing content marketing. I'm also getting some help from Edison as well. No, with their own channels, because for me that's been like the most challenging part. How am I gonna reach my audience?
Understood. That makes a lot of sense.
That's fantastic. So Rodolfo, can I change gears slightly? So now that you partnered and you managed to find students for your course, how did you decide what you would teach your audience? Like, how did you go about making that decision? Also, if you made pivots or if you made some key decisions, how were you informed of those?
I think it's been very natural to be honest with you. I worked for almost 10 years around CSR, and then I studied a master in social entrepreneurship. So what I'm doing now with my cohort-based course is that I'm like merging both topics, no? And the merge of these topics is called corporate social innovation, which is how large companies are going to work together with social entrepreneurs. Why did I decide to do that? Because, of course, I have experience around the topics, but also because I truly believe that this is a topic that has to be better known and known by more people. No, it's a niche topic that has a lot of has a lot of potential. So I think if I start building my reputation around this topic, I could, in some future, I could have not just lots of courses around the topic, but also I can build I can build another kind of offering around it, for example.
And having taught, your CBC already, what did you find as the response of your purely online students?
I mean, it's been great. After that email blast that I told you, we had 10 participants. That just to let you know that the online courses that I design are for small groups. So maximum 11 maybe. So 10 was a great number, and I think they received it pretty well. No, we had great feedback from them, and they told me that they were not expecting something like that profound and that interactive as well. So that's also a sign that this kind of courses could be a good idea.
That's awesome. I mean, that's really encouraging. And so how do you find running a CBC as well as, taking care of your duties at the university? How do you manage time as well as expectations, I suppose?
I think now it's a little bit easier. It was hard to manage the time during the designing phase of the course. And I mean, always the first course will always need more time, no? Because you have to design the whole thing, because you have to find out how to market it, how to promote it, and you still don't have your partners. No, there's a lot of things that you have to do in order to build your first online course. But now that I'm in, I would say that like the second phase of it, I mean, I already organized one, I already did it, and then I'm just going to repeat that same course. I have more time, no? So I would say that you have to think that at the beginning, if you want to start something from scratch, you have to dedicate a lot of time. No? And the advantage for me that I'm teaching at the university is that we have holidays. And I don't know how it's in other countries, but here in Mexico, we have like 2 very big holidays, one in summer and one in the summer. But for example, the one in summer is about 3 months, maybe a little bit less. So if you can book in advance or to prepare in advance to say, okay, during the holidays I will design this new course, then it would be easier, no? Because yes, at the very beginning it will take time.
Absolutely.
Understood. Yeah, 3 months is a quite a long time. So yeah, a lot that can be done in 3 months. Rodolfo, I want to ask this, right? Now that you've decided that you're going to do a CBC full time and you really want to make it a part of your teaching career, what really excites you about this new path that you're taking? Like, what are the factors that really get you going?
Well, first of all, that I truly believe that corporate social innovation is a topic that could really transform companies. from within. So I truly believe about that. From a business point of view, I truly believe that this is a niche topic. It is currently a niche topic, so we have a lot of room to grow. And if I already started here, I would also have time to grow my own personal brand as an expert in the topic. So that's something that also moves me. And I would say also to be part of the new education revolution. I truly believe that online courses and everything around online courses and online learning is something that will really change the way we educate and we learn, and we are learning. As long as the internet penetration keeps on growing, we will be able to provide education services, if I can say it that way,
yes,
to more people.
Awesome. Actually, which actually brings into my next question, right? You are actually an early mover in this space, right? You being a university professor have actually ventured into the world of cohort-based courses, and so you are sort of like a sign of things to come. So, if from your perspective, where do you see this going? What do you think? How is this going to shape up the future of online education? What are your thoughts about how this is gonna pan out in the future? Like 10 years from now, 5 years from now, where do you see this going? What do you see as the big changes in the online education space?
Well, I think the pandemic showed us that it's a great alternative, and that if you do it well and with the right tools, it's very effective. And unfortunately, we've seen that the growth curve during the pandemic, I mean, it might got lower, but it didn't go all the way down, you know? And that means that it is something that is really valuable for the people. And currently you can have hybrid courses. You can go to traditional schools to learn something, but also you have the alternative of learning from other people. And other people from different parts of the world with different perspectives. So I think that the value that is bringing online learning is something that is already seen as important. And I just believe that it will be growing and growing all the time. That's one thing. And the other thing is that it is easier to scale and to democratize. Is that the word? Yeah, to democratize. So as I told you, every time to reach more people with online learning. And that's also one of the reasons I think it is growing that much.
Absolutely.
Understood.
And so, Rodolfo, we're sort of coming to the closing part of this conversation, and we want to ask you: is there anything else you want to tell our audience? Something we've not covered? We want to throw the floor open to you.
Well, I mean, just to. First, to thank you for this space and for the experience of talking about this. I haven't talked that much about CBCs, and not with experts like you, not that much. But I would say that if there's anyone out there that would like or thinks that they have something to share with people, think about designing a CBC. If you I think that if you find the right partners, and if you find time to design something that is very valuable, I think it could be an addition to anything that you do. For example, if you are an advisor, having a CBC would be an addition to your services. If you work at a company, having a CBC would work to form your colleagues in certain topics. If you're a teacher, I mean, for everyone, it is something that could help almost everyone to have a CBC.
That's awesome. I like your enthusiastic point of view about CBCs, and we hope our audience also sees that here is someone who is dived into this space and is going full throttle and has already found success in just a few months of starting to do this. So that's from us. Thank you so much, Rodolfo, for joining us.
Thank you, guys. It's always a pleasure to talk with you.
Thank you.